Hi, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Some Soothings. This is Season 2, Episode 7. My name is Joshua. I am a musician and glitch and sound artist. And Some Soothings is a 30-minute weekly live stream in which I'll share and discuss art and poetry and music, history. There'll be some jokes, there'll be some earnestness, there'll be some live improvised music. It's an outlet. This is a place for me to work out ideas and hopefully connect a little bit with you all through these screens somehow. The show will endeavor to be really soft, really gentle, really vulnerable. But we are taking a broad definition of the word soothing, and we will not be ignoring any of the seriousnesses, the very real seriousnesses of our current moment. So welcome. Thanks for tuning in. So quick housekeeping. IG Live has been a little unstable, so we'll see how tonight goes. I hope it's great. That said, we're archiving everything on the IGTV in my profile, so I'll just get this episode up as quickly as I can in case the stream gets janky. If you want to learn more about anything that we talk about on the show, there is an info doc that's linked in the pinned comment down there. I can't really clock the comments as we're going, but I am recording them. And I'll check them out later when I'm drinking my nightly glass of unfiltered rage. I'll respond to any questions or comments at the top of next week's show. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging with us. Let's get going. Let's look at some art. So today we're going to look at two paintings by Noah Davis. These are both oil on canvas. The top is Pueblo del Rio Arabesque. The bottom is Pueblo del Rio Concerto. Noah Davis was born in 1983 in Seattle, Washington, and following a multi-year fight with rare soft tissue cancer, crossed the veil again in 2015 at age 32. It's a real loss. Davis was a remarkable artist and seems like a remarkable person. Davis trained at Cooper Union here in New York and then landed in LA in 2004, where they stayed for the rest of their lives. Davis has been shown at the Museum of Contemporary Art in LA, the Studio Museum here in Harlem, the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and I had the pleasure of seeing this work at this career-spanning kind of posthumous retrospective at the David Schwerner Gallery here in Manhattan. It was a really stunning show. Yeah, really, it was just a really strong, there's maybe 30 paintings and a little bit of ephemera, and yeah, great show. Davis primarily worked in oil and acrylic, though occasionally dabbled in sculpture, photography, and installation. Davis was a full-voiced advocate for creating space and opportunity in the arts for systematically disenfranchised folks, notably founding the Underground Museum in 2012. The Underground Museum is a series of interconnected storefronts in this historically working-class Black and Latinx neighborhood in LA. Davis's intention was to bring free, accessible, and museum-quality art within walking distance to a community that otherwise would have little access to it. This eventually led to a partnership with the Museum of Contemporary Art LA, who has since lent work from their permanent collection to the Underground Museum, posthumously fulfilling Davis's dream for the space. Davis planned 18 shows before their passing, and 4 have been realized, and the remainder are in the works. The partnership between Underground Museum and MoCA LA continues. So it is, of course, profoundly tragic that such a smart and generous person had to leave so soon. Leaving, though, this legacy of this amazing space at the Underground Museum and also their painting. So let's talk about this work specifically. A couple quick notes on the work's title. So Pueblo del Rio is the name of these housing projects depicted. Arabesque is the name for that dance move that the dancers are doing. And concerto is a term from the Baroque era, and it generally refers to a solo instrumental composition. So, obviously this cat playing the piano. formally, these are just like super luscious paintings. They're lyrical. I find them just like deeply, deeply beautiful. The purple is like so rich, and the brushwork. And again, like this is work that I feel like is best seen in person. But the brushwork is like really just like super tender. It's really gentle. There's some art historical evocation happening here. Some Degas, I think, in the dancers. Some Charles Sheeler in the kind of like flattened architecture. And I think there's some like David Hockney in this like sense of California romantic. Thematically, I think that we're continuing an idea that we've been carrying for the past couple of weeks. And I think that we're like kind of slowly articulating a pillar in aesthetic theory. And it's this idea that the ability to imagine a different world is integral to striving for it. So Adrienne Marie Brown, Martha Rosler, Allison Janae Hamilton, Ayanna Jackson, like these artists and thinkers we've been talking about and looking at this season, like have all been shepherding us towards this idea. And of course, this is not like a new idea. Maybe it's just like a new idea to me. I find it really compelling though. We struggle to speak about a thing without a word for it. Perhaps a quality of our most vital art is that it teaches us new words, that it gives us like new grammars, that it expands our imaginative vocabulary. Audre Lorde famously writes, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And so is then like one role of art to help us imagine new tools? So it feels like pretty clear to apply this aesthetic theory to like science fiction or maybe like liberation spirituals sung by like say enslaved people. In both cases, like that work speaks to a different world, the imagined different world. I think that's also the case with like outright political work like Martha Rosler's that we looked at a couple weeks ago. Davis's work here, I think, provides like another nuance to the idea. This is not agitpropped. Like this is not quote unquote activist or like political. These are pastorals. They're like quiet and moody and like really tender. And I think the work has like a quality of magical realism to it. And maybe that's what really moves me, like this daydreamingness, this mystery. Depicting Black folk engaging in activities of high culture that have long been denied them is really potent. But Davis's turn is placing those activities in like an unexpected context, outside, in front of an apartment complex. And I think that's where like we get the really deep poetry. White supremacy has long reigned in high culture, and has denied Black folk like actual access. The Met Opera, for example, has never performed the work of a Black composer. They will finally in 2021 for the very first time. And so that's like, yeah, that's actual access. And then I think that the racism in high culture is of course like psychologically toxic too, as it like constricts our imaginations. I myself, like in the past, honestly, would picture a white-skinned child when I thought of a ballerina. And so I think that the profound gift that Noah Davis has given me is that when someone says ballerina now, I picture this. I picture this work. In the generosity of our best art, the breadth of our dreaming expands. Okay, two more quick things, two more stars in this constellation. In 2018, the Carters released a video for their single Ape Shit. The video is totally amazing. It's Beyonce, her husband, and a troupe of dancers just lighting up the Louvre Museum in Paris. It's black joy and anger and excellence and beauty and tenderness and celebration. It's this articulation of Black sovereignty in a space long dominated by white supremacy. It's just really lovely and really potent. I recommend two viewings. On the second pass, turn the sound off. The song is super good, but for me, at least, I think it helps me to like really concentrate on the visual resonances. I'm sitting in silence and watching these things like unfold. And I really I can't wait for someone to write a dissertation about this video. There's just like a ton of really lovely things and smart things to unpack. Okay, and then lastly, this is Davis's Delusions of Grandeur, which I feel like is, I don't know, like a literalization of everything that we've been talking about. There's this mystery, this dreaming, this like sparkle and starshine like up there in the top of the staircase. It's like the imagination embodied for us to climb to. So no, Davis, rest in power. More info in our info doc, including this really pleasurable oral history that I uncovered that I recommend reading. So check that out. Okay. Up next, we have a new segment on the show called Ask Yourself. A few weeks ago, I wrote a bunch of kind of, I don't know, provocative questions and made like a little piece of code to randomize them. So I'll hit this button, a random question will come up. I'll ask myself the question, and I don't know, maybe it can serve like as a prompt for you as well. So let's see what we get. Oh, geez. Clearly, like a real jerk wrote these questions. Okay, let's go for it. Wait, looking forward to it. Okay. Hey, buddy, what are you looking forward to this autumn? Ooh, thanks for asking, pal. Nothing. I'm probably not allowed to stop there, huh? I may be able to see my family for the holidays, so that might be something I'm looking forward to. I may purchase a bicycle. That may be something I'm looking forward to. I may try to get out of town for a day or two, like go up to Storm King or do some hiking at Bear Mountain. So maybe those are things that I'm looking forward to. I think in some ways maybe I'm looking forward to the end of the election season. That might be a thing that I'm looking forward to. But otherwise, yeah, slim pickings and looking forward to. So that. Cool, let's get out of this segment. Yeah, let's definitely get out of this segment. Up next, we have Radical History Snacks, which either features cool old food or highlights moments in the people's history. On June 28th, 2012, Sister Megan Rice, at age 82, and two fellow activists broke into the Y-12 National Security Complex in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. They spray-painted anti-war slogans and splashed blood on the outside of this heavily guarded, highly enriched uranium materials facility. So this is a nuclear weapons site that a nun and two buddies, all of them over 55 years old, break into and stage this nonviolent civil disobedient protest against the continued proliferation of nuclear warheads. It's totally amazing. Sister Rice is still with us, now age 90, and is a member of the Plowshares movement. This is this progressive religious org that takes inspiration from the biblical axiom, hammer their swords into plowshares, which is, I think, that it's this idea of transform weapons into tools to feed and nurture. So all three, of course, are arrested. I think they know going into it that they would be arrested. At the time, the New York Times reports that the action is, quote, the biggest security breach in the history of the nation's atomic complex. Federal prosecutors charged the three with trespassing, destruction of government property, and violating the Sabotage Act. In defending her actions, Sister Rose argues for the importance of raising awareness about the geopolitical and humanitarian danger of nuclear weapons, and states, quote, we spend more on nuclear arms than the departments of education, health, transportation, and disaster relief, end quote. So there's this defund message at the heart of the action, which I think is a position that we all are getting increasingly comfortable and familiar with, which I think is really great. And so I think Rice articulates that really clearly, a decade ago. All three are convicted. Rice serves 2 years in prison. This super old nun, 2 years in prison. A federal appeals court finally overturns the ruling, stating that clearly this was a political activity and that no actual sabotage was intended, and that the case was pressed in bad faith by arguing that it was sabotage. So they are released on time served. Rice, to this day, continues to fight for world peace. I think interestingly, like sort of at least to me, I'm getting a sense that there's like a kind of a history of religious leadership doing this like anti-war activist work. And I'm seeing like kind of a lot of it specifically around nuclear weapons. So I'm going to do some more homework here. Specifically, I want to watch this doc that I just found today called The Nuns, the Priests, and the Bombs, which is a really charming title. So I'll report back after I watch that, and y'all holler if you check it out. I'm finding this thread like just like really intriguing though. Like as a non-religious person, seeing religious folks involved in anti-war and progressive actions. So a little bit more info in the doc, including a link to that documentary film. Okay, up next we have our Some Soothing special feature. This week's special feature is New Wave Waves. Note there's some strobing effects in this bit that might cause issue for like photosensitive folks. There also is the very worst karaoke version of the Thompson Twins I could find, so that might cause issue for like auditorially sensitive folks. That was a stupid joke. Sorry about that bad joke. Bad music, blinking lights. Buckle up. So each week on Some Soothings, we take a look at an organization or an organizer that's doing work that we admire. And so I have researched this org and donated to the org already, and in sharing it with y'all, I'm encouraging you to consider donating as well. So this week we are looking at the Detroit Sound Conservancy. I swear I am not picking these orgs based on how cool their logos are, but like, look at how cool that logo is. It's the birthplace of techno. It's the birthplace of Motown. It's my hometown. These folks are doing work that's like super dear to my heart. A treasured family photograph shows my mother and her sister singing into hairbrushes, pretending to be the Supremes. My mother, as the eldest sister, is cast as Diana Ross. I was too young to really clock the emerging techno scene as a teenager, but I definitely have memories of seeing flyers for Derek May spinning parties like when I was a kid, which seems so bananas and so cool. So yeah, Detroit music. In the internet era, I feel like music and place have kind of become a little untethered, but folks like the Detroit Sound Conservancy are doing like really critical work to preserve those links and preserving actual artifacts and landmarks. So in particular, I think trying to reverse the erasure of the influence and cultural contribution of Black folk and Indigenous folk and people of color. I think it's really vital work. In their own words, quote, "The Detroit Sound Conservancy is a nonprofit, community-based archive that creates preservation space, both online and offline, that is accessible, reliable, and transparent. The Detroit Sound Conservancy is concerned with preserving a wide range of artifacts, including analog tapes, oral history transcriptions, vinyl recordings, paper ephemera, and landmarks, physical locations themselves where the Detroit Sound was created. These are equally as important as some of the products that they have generated." Quote, "Our goals are to acquire, catalog, conserve, and curate historical artifacts and oral histories to safeguard Detroit's musical past, present, and future. We will convene, teach, and mentor students, scholars, tourists, and the general public through our collections and programs. We will honor, maintain, and incubate musical talent and experience live on our bandstand in our club, and will build relationships and bolster community pride by providing access to a historic cultural space that focuses attention on history and heritage." So this is just really lovely, and I think like really important work. So if you are so inspired and have the means, do consider a donation. The donation link is pinned in that comment downstairs. Okay, let's play some music. What do we got? Great. So this will be probably like 5 or 6 minutes of some improvised electronic music exploration-y stuff. Okay, here it comes. All right, cool. Thanks for listening, gang. Let's close with a poem. So this is All Thirst Quenched by Lois Red Elk. I didn't want to scold the sky that year, but grandmother's words taunted my senses. If there's a thirst, then you need to pity the flowers in a loud voice. Ask the frogs why they're being punished. Stomp on the ground and talk to the dried clay about cracking open the earth. But I know challenging a storm is risky. Last but not least, she said, burn cedar and pray the lightning doesn't strike your town. That night, the stars disappeared. So did the birds. Perhaps it was the season. Or the dance. In the western distance, we thought we heard cannon blasts. Looking over, we watched the horizon fill with lightning strikes. Rain couldn't pour hard enough over the thirsty plain. Accompanying clouds called to the thunder's voice in extreme decibels, requesting all the water heaven could send forth to come. Rain and more rain filled empty stream bottoms. Rivers who had pulled their dry banks farther and farther from their center begged for a drink to startle dusty beds with a flooding roar. Lives in dormant places began to stir and awaken. The lives of water beings, those that swim, the ones that hop, the ones that fly, begin to stir. That year, all thirst was quenched. All right, buddies, that's our show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place, same bad jokes. Appreciate your viewership. Take really good care of yourselves. Take really good care of each other. Good night.